Call the City of Allegan City Council meeting for Monday, May 12th, 2025 to order. May I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Zeter.
Present.
Councilmember Westover.
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Canales.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Present.
Councilmember Hands.
Present.
Mayor Pargo.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, if those who are able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, Bill. All right, we're going to move down to agenda item number 4, which is approval of agenda. Under 4A, we have the approval of the regular council meeting agenda for May 12th, 2025. This is amended, and those amendments are in red for all the council members in front of you. Could I please get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Moving down to agenda item number 5, which is approval of minutes. Under 5A, we have approval of the regular council meeting minutes from April 28th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Abstain.
Moving down to agenda item number 6, which is special presentations and recognitions by mayor or council. 6A is appointment of Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. In your report, or in your packet, was a staff report regarding this. You will recall at your previous meeting, we attempted to select a Mayor Pro Tem to replace former Mayor Pro Tem Bill Morgan, who resigned recently. During that process, historically, the city has always done a ballot process for selecting the mayor and selecting the Mayor Pro Tem. However, there's some kerfuffle out in the audience during that process, and council decided just to do a voice vote. After that meeting, I reached out to the city attorney. The city attorney explained that you are allowed to do a secret ballot as part of a voting process. The only difference is you have to make a motion to suspend your rules to do the secret ballot, and then you'd have to. And then at the end of the secret ballot, we do have to read which way each member voted. One reason you may want to do a secret ballot is to remove any kind of peer pressure, where when the person next to you says, "I vote for John Doe," you might feel inclined to also say vocally John Doe at that moment as well. So that's one reason why you want to do it. Or you may just want to do a voice vote again. It's completely up to council on how you want to proceed with this. We have ballots ready to do it either way.
All right, thanks, Joel. Is there any, well, we need to have a motion.
You do need a motion for discussion. So there would be a motion to suspend the rules to do a secret ballot. You could have it that way, and then if it fails, and you do a voice vote. If it passes, then you do the secret ballot. Does that make sense? Okay, so
Explain it.
so for discussion to occur, you have to have a motion on the floor. So you can make a motion in the affirmative to suspend the rules of council to do a secret ballot. That will get support. Once that motion has support, you can discuss it, and then you would vote on it. And if that motion passes, then you would do the secret ballot. If that motion fails, then you would do the voice vote.
Could you also do a motion for a voice vote instead?
If someone wants to make a motion for a voice vote and just go right to that, you could do that instead.
Okay.
Is that what you're doing, Carl? Or you just asked the question? I was like, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure what's.
I know how this all works.
All right, thank you. I can't make a motion.
Okay, then I'll make a motion for a voice vote.
Okay,
Support.
all right. We've got a motion on the table. It's been moved and supported to do a voice vote. Discussion amongst council.
I'm fine either way.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Just getting the ball rolling.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else have any feedback?
I'm fine either way.
Okay,
Same
same with you?
yeah,
Okay,
doesn't matter.
all right. Any other discussion before we vote on the motion that's on the table? No? All right, so the motion on the table is to do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 No? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, so the way you'll proceed now is you'll make nominations.
All right. I would like to nominate Peter Hantz, and I don't have to. I just want to share with you guys, I know has served previously on council. He has also been Mayor Pro Tem in the past. So that's why I am nominating Peter.
I'd accept that nomination.
All right. Anyone else?
I will nominate. I'd like to nominate Melanie Hooker.
I would accept.
All right. Anyone else? Seeing? Okay. All right.
Okay, Councilmember Zeter.
Peter Hantz.
Councilmember Westover.
Councilmember Hens.
Councilmember Walker.
Councilmember Hooker.
Councilmember Canales.
Peter Hantz.
Councilmember Hooker.
Hooker.
Councilmember Hands.
Peter Hantz.
Councilmember Perigo.
Councilmember Hantz.
Okay. Councilmember Hands has 5 votes. Councilmember Hooker has 2 votes. Councilmember Hands is Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for that. All right, moving down on the agenda, the next agenda item that we have have on the agenda is public hearings and adoption of ordinance, which is 8A1. Oh, we have to move this one, sorry.
It was moved as part of the
I
approval of the
know, I
agenda.
just realized that.
You're good.
I'm sorry. All right, we're moving down to agenda item number 9, which is public comment. If you have a public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and we do limit those to 3 minutes. And it's a rush of people compared to the last 2 weeks. All right, seeing no public comment, I'm going to move down to agenda item number 11. 11A is city boards, commissions, and area agencies. 11A1 is a review of the May 2025 Airport Advisory Board meeting minutes, and it looks like City Manager Dye is going to give the update.
Correct. The Airport Advisory Board met on May 5th. It's the first Monday of each month. They're allowed to meet in person or via Teams, so their members can also call in per their bylaws. Through this, they got an update on the construction for the airport hangar that's being built. Right now, they got a handful of small site improvements they have to do out there, and they're waiting for the building to be delivered. It should be delivered in July of 2025. And then we also had to go out for engineering services. The Airport Advisory Board reviewed the engineering RFQ that was submitted by Prein&Newhof, and they are recommending to City Council that we approve Prein&Newhof as the consultants. This will be discussed later on in your meeting this evening. As of right now, there is one T hanger that's available for lease. And then it was also mentioned that it is expected that council member or Mayor Pro Tem Hands will replace Bill Morgan on the airport board. There was some comment and discussion at the airport board. One of the board members wants a key to the old FBO, that's the Fixed Base Operators Office, that we used to have before we built the new terminal. I instructed DPW staff that only city personnel and authorized people can receive keys to buildings, such as like contractors, cleaning crews, IT, stuff like that. We do not want to get into the business of giving keys to board members to access our stuff. This board member is a very passionate individual when it comes to airplanes, and we're very thankful he's on our board, but we do have to have some control over stuff like that. And then they are doing more social events out there where they would like to have barbecues and stuff to get just more people hanging out at the airport. They would talked about putting a sign up for fuel prices, but that really isn't going to get a pilot to land there because they see a fuel sign down on the ground, nor will they be able to see it from the sky. And then our pumps lack an auto shut-off on the nozzle, so they asked us to look into that. So, any questions about the airport board? And hopefully starting next month, council member will be giving these updates and not staff.
All right, thank you. 11A2 is a review of the April 2025 Allegan Fire District meeting minutes, and Councilmember Walker, would you give the update?
Yes. It was reported that in February of this year, incidents were down quite a bit from last year, from 17 to 40. In March, incidents were up from 62 this year, and they were only 35 last year. Fire district trained 81 hours in March. They combined 81 hours of inspection training, timed donning, building search, mayday, rescues. In February, they did ice rescue volunteering, ice rescue training, and they volunteered at West Ward. They had the financial audit by Flegel and Melnick, which showed everything was just fine, and that was it.
Any questions of council? No? All right, we'll move on to 11C, which is water utilities. 11C1 is a request from Allegan County Fairgrounds requesting a reduction removal of the sewer portion of their utility bill.
Thank you, Mayor. A week and a half ago, I received a phone call from Executive Director Sarah Miller of the Fairgrounds requesting that we look at her water or the Fairgrounds utility bill and inquiring if there's anything the city could do to address an overbilling or an underbilling that the city did. I responded that I don't have the authority to just, make these corrections, and I instructed her that if she wants something to be done, an email has to come to the city council. That email was sent to city council. Staff went ahead, we put together our response. That's also in your packet and was shared with Sari via email. I asked her if she still wanted to move forward with this, and she said yes. So Sari's in the audience this evening, and we invite her to the podium to make the request to council. We also have city staff available for questions of staff about the process.
Great.
Well, the first thing I want to tell you is I was way off when I said that our numbers were running close. Doug sent me some information, Swearis, and we looked things over, and I'm not really sure what happened. When I look back through it, mind you, I just got back from Barbados at my daughter's wedding, so it's been a little crazy. But with the comparing from 23 to 24, I had not went back far enough. So Doug was totally right. Our numbers were way down. Bonnie and I talked about it to figure out what had happened, and the only thing that we could come up with is that in '23, we had several leaks on the fairgrounds, and it was really bad, and I know it sounds crazy to think you could have that much in leaks, but we have had leaks from $5,000 to $7,000 in the past, because we're 115 acres, and we have a very sandy soil, and if something is running down a hill or underground, it can go on a long time there. So I'm not sure what we did, but anyhow, bills were way down. There's no doubt about it, and it makes sense what they're saying when you go back through '23. Some comments in the city department's letter was that everything that they do for us, and the city has done a lot for us, there's no doubt about it. We've always had a good working relationship with the city, and we hope that never changes. In the letter that Joel and Doug put together, they mentioned several things. And one thing was the 20 to 21, where they reduced our bill to a 5/8 inch line, which saved us a lot of money through COVID and really helped the fair out. And like I said, we do appreciate all of it. And we've done a few things also, and I want to touch base on those real quick. Back in '98, we sold 6 city lots on Frederick Drive in the Davis addition to the city for $1. They needed a drain put in. They were having a water problem. So that was quite a bit that we tried to help out with. The city in '22 held the Beer and Barbecue Blues Fest at the fairgrounds. Generally, when I rent the fairgrounds for that large of an area, it's a $5,000 rental. And so we just let them do that because of the 5/8 inch line they had been billing us for Ready to Serve. We paid for signs. I don't remember what year it was. It was the set on the ends of town before the set went up. And I don't think we paid the whole thing. I believe it was $10,000, but I could not find record of it. So it was like $5,000 per sign is what we're trying to remember on it, or what we thought had happened. We hold several events free of charge for the community. The high school holds the cross-country invitational and meet at the fairgrounds. There are beef, sheep, goat, and numerous horse shows for the 4-H and youth livestock. American Cancer Relay was here for years, and the Ladies Hospital League used to do their flowers at the fair. So we do try to give back also. The fairgrounds is a large asset to the city, bringing in thousands into Allegan every year. And last year, we estimated over 390,000 people came to fair time and off-season events. These are people coming into our community, buying gas, groceries, eating at our restaurants. We have 2 large RV rallies that are coming in this year. But we're really not trying to get into who does what. The fact is the fairgrounds pays for a lot of irrigation water that never goes through the city sewer lines. Let me get on my next page. Sorry, it's lengthy. We're almost there, though. It was mentioned that we could split off part of our lines and make a line for irrigation, but we'll need to look into that. I don't know if it would be cost-worthy. When we're paying, would we be paying another meter fee? Would we need to add an RPZ? If I understood what Doug wrote correctly in his letter, he spoke as if this would all come off the meter and RPZ that we have. And as my first letter read, though, we're constantly watering landscaping and flowers, the racetrack, 3 arenas prior and during livestock shows, watering the animals, and at fair that is a lot, dirt roads to keep the dust down, and our watering tank trailer holds 1,000 gallons and needs filled repeatedly for each time that we're covering a certain area. The fairgrounds being as large as it is, it still probably wouldn't work to do an irrigation line because, I mean, it's all over. It's watering, it's landscaping, it's the track when we're having demo derbies and things, and we can't hardly pull the tractor and the wagons up to the front of the fairgrounds. We'd have to run the line down to the track because with the crowds, wouldn't be able to get through. In the 5 months that we're basically shut down with just office employees, we're using 200 to 300 gallons of water per month, basically bathrooms and washing dishes. And during that time, we're still paying over $900 a month for the RTS due to the large size of the meter coming on. Now, mind you, we are paying for a 4-inch, not an 8-inch, and we have an 8-inch. But we're talking about this bill, and now, there was simply an error on billing. We're not arguing or being nasty about it. That isn't what we're doing. We're just requesting that, being it all came in at once, that we could get a reduction on the sewer charges because of, so much irrigation service that we use. It's an extremely large bill, $11,630, of which $6,621.77 is sewer. We've closed our books for the year, set our budget. Any reduction on the cost that you would consider would be greatly appreciated. Any questions for me, or?
Anybody have any questions?
How many buildings have restrooms out there? I know you have the 2 public restrooms, or 3, including the grandstands, and 4 with the new agriculture building has
The
its own
expo
restrooms.
building, yes.
Is there another one in the offices, or,
Yeah, we have bathrooms in the office.
I'm just wondering. like,
In the
how-
winter, it's shut down right at the RPZ. We have a cutover. It goes to the expo and to the office, but the expo is full of winter storage and winterized and shut down. Everything is winterized except the office.
I was just wondering if
Or
it's
I'm sorry, not,
easier-
the expo is not, just the things that come down. We keep water to it, though.
I was just wondering if it's easier to actually just meter the buildings with restrooms rather than the whole irrigation, because I don't know how easy it is if you wanted to separate it into having a meter that, and then run it the opposite direction than what we do, kind of. Say that those ones are the restrooms and the main ones irrigation.
Yeah. So just a few things, if you don't mind, since you're asking, that's a question, so you'll get an answer. The answer is, I don't know if it'd be easier. I do know we have another ratepayer customer in the city system that has a meter on their sewer, because they use the same argument, that the water we generate doesn't go back down the drain, it goes out somewhere. So they have a meter on their sewer. They can install a meter on their sewer. And then, this isn't a this or them or, us versus them kind of discussion. I would advise council to tread lightly when looking at reducing someone's bill, because the next person will come in. The previous city council had a gentleman, I think, show up for 4 or 5 months straight because he was angry about paying the ready-to-serve fees. And that council held, I don't want to say held, they held firm to the ordinance, is what they held firm to. But if there's another way for us to come to an agreement, the 4-inch RTS as opposed to the 8-inch RTS was something that a previous city council approved back in 2019, 2018? Yeah, so you do have the authority to do that. Staff does have the authority, thankfully.
Is it 8-inch because the buildings are sprinkled?
It's 8-inch because of the usage at fair and large events,
Yeah, for the, yeah. it's-
so that we have enough water
Water to go
coming
through,
in.
yeah, it's not just the sprinkling, but it's for the amount of water they need during their busy times.
And the only thing I would add is that we're more than happy to make payment arrangements, so it's not like a lump sum they have to pay or any fees will be added.
They have offered that.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
per your policy, so council's aware, because I don't expect you to understand the full 700 pages of our code of ordinances or how many hundreds of pages. Any payment plan that is more than 5,000, city council has to approve it. Any payment plan that goes longer than 12 months, city council has to approve it. So we would bring that back to council for your approval, since this is more than the 5,000.
As I say, the agenda item is a request from Allegan County Fairgrounds requesting a reduction removal of the sewer portion of their utility bill. So that is what council is being asked of council.
And actually, we ask of part or all, if you can just see to, and it's just the simple fact that receiving $11,600 bill in one shot is just a little overwhelming. And we were just hoping that because of all that, you could see to reduce the sewer part. We said lower, or if you could waive it, but either way, we would be very pleased if you can help us out a little.
And Sarah, I apologize. We don't have the information in front of us, but did you say the sewer portion of the bill was 6,000, give or take?
It's, yes, I just read that. Sorry, 77.
Thank
yeah.
you. You guys both said 77 at the same time, so I believe both of you.
So, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it is an option, like Peter, Councilmember Hans said, that it could be metered, strictly metered, and that is an option.
Well, I think what Mayor Pro Tem Hans was talking about was putting individual meters on
Yes.
each building.
What's the most economical if they
Yeah.
wanted to go forward in the future to save that sewer part? What would the fairs want to do? And I'm just saying, which way is easier? And that's something that they'll have to get with Doug and go and actually, and the water department and look at where is your utilities coming in and which way's the least amount of meters and what's the least amount of cost. You know, one is measure the sewer, two is measure individual buildings that use it for sewer.
Because if it's 4 buildings, that'd be 4 separate meters that we'd have to put on those buildings. And then they're private meters, and we'd have to have the right to go in and inspect them. The agreement has to have all those caveats put in there. And Doug, please don't speak from the audience. We're recording this. Thank you. If you're going to speak, please come to the podium. I'm sure Sari can share it. Thank you,
For the most
Sari.
part, I would figure the meters at the restroom sizes that they have for those buildings would be 5/8 type meters, not big meters, so more like residential.
That is
meters.
correct. My concern would be the vendors, the campgrounds, where do they get their water from? Because that would have to go through a meter. Also,
Well,
you
it
know,
would be going through the main meter at the road, that's what I'm saying, you still have the main meter. It's the uses that actually use sewer are the ones that they could meter to be charged for the sewer on those, and the rest would be assumed that they're being used for irrigation. And if it's going to a camper, that technically doesn't get sewer rate charged on it because they take
yeah,
it
because
in
they have a dump station there that goes to the sewer.
sewer. Oh, yeah, they do have a dump
So,
station.
and same with the
It's
vendors.
almost impossible to do that. I mean, and when you're looking
Maybe-
at, we're still watering the animals, watering the flowers, watering.
I'm just looking for the
you
future,
know,
for you're not on
I
this
do see
issue
their
today.
point with not being able to. We used to have that, and with the big RPC, we got away from it, so.
Plus, you have to be careful, internally in their plumbing, if they have
Backfeeds.
sprinkling, on some water lines. I believe by health department rules, those are supposed to have RPZs to protect their internal system as well. So, have to be careful on what is split up and, so.
That's something that the fairground should look at in the future, because it could be a cost savings for them overall, but maybe the sewer meter, but you'd have to look at what the general cost is.
If they had the irrigation meter though, wouldn't it eliminate the sewer costs?
Yes, but if there's several lines that have irrigation meters, you may end up spending as much on irrigation meters as you would a
Yeah.
sewer meter.
Yeah, you're talking a lot of different water spots out there.
Yeah.
Like the campgrounds, we have RPZs on all of our outlets, out on the grounds outside of the buildings. So we have to go around and literally put them on and take them off again so they don't freeze and break in the winter. And, I mean, it's a lot of detail to keep it safe and keep everything going, but we have our vendors voice that they have to have those, so
Are they RPZs or are they vacuum brakes?
they're little RPZs, aren't they?
They're a vacuum breaker, but they work as a backflow preventer.
They're approved by the Allegan Health Department for camping. They've came out and told us what we needed, and they've checked them. They come out every year.
Okay. All right, can I get a motion for what is in front of us tonight, which is a request to reduce or remove a portion of the sewer utility bill?
I'll make a motion not to do either.
Well, a motion has to be affirmative.
Gotcha.
So we make a motion for it, support
And-
it, and then
And
we can vote no.
Then we can
Or you
discuss
just
it.
let it die on the table. Doesn't have to go either way.
All right. Melanie, is that a motion? Peter?
No, I don't have a motion for removing the sewer rate, just direct this, the only thing I would have a motion is direct the city to work with them on a payment plan and bring that back to us. How many months was this overbilled, 12 or 18 months? Or underbilled, sorry.
15, I believe it was. It started February of '24, was caught in April.
And I'd kind of expect at least that long of a repayment plan to be fair. it was our mistake to start with. But, you know, the staff can work with them and come back with a plan on that.
Yeah, so I would advise council or just inform council that that's what staff will do, is we'll continue our conversation with the fair on this bill, and we'll bring back, you know, a recommendation to city council if we don't hear a motion to reduce this fee.
Before we,
Go ahead.
real quick, it seems like we should have, when the motion's done, whatever, but it seems like we should have some study done by the water department with recommendations. We have such a good customer. Shouldn't we have at least a good study on it and a recommendation of what can be done, if anything?
To add to Councilmember Walker, does HydroCorp do any assessments like that?
They just look at backflow protection and nothing internal, like the fairgrounds, for an example. They wouldn't look inside at all. They just look, is the city system protected basically at the road or where the city water enters the property? So no, HydroCorp would not. It would be city staff working with the fairgrounds, recommendations. You know, we could start off by looking at where they feel their main water usages are for irrigation or filling water tanks, and, you know, see what it would be to put a water meter in there to meter for just that usage. We try not to, but then that would be a deduct meter, so it deduct that usage off of the sewer bill. So we try to get away from those. They've had issues in the past. That's why we recommend putting a second line in for irrigation. I understand, you know, at the fairgrounds, there's multiple lines, multiple places for that, so.
Sari, did you have something else you wanted? Could you, sorry, since we're being televised, could you come up to the podium?
That $1,000 water, or that 1,000-gallon water tank?
Yeah.
That has a fill station. If we could possibly just take care of that position, I'm sorry, because that is the main thing that waters the roads, the arenas, the track, things like that. So maybe if that could be read
Yeah, I mean,
separately.
that's something we could easily look at and.
It wouldn't cover everything, but it would definitely help.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from council, the request to reduce or remove the sewer portion, I think what I'm hearing and what my thought is to have staff continue to work with the fairgrounds for resolution, whether it's a payment plan, looking into some other options going forward. Is that, yes? Yes. Okay, all right,
Thank you.
okay. All right, thank you, Sari.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Moving down to 11C2 is a request to approve a contract with Abonmarche for the professional engineering services of Grand Street.
Yep, this is one of the smaller projects identified in our CIP plan that was rolled out to council earlier this spring. This is Grand Street from River to North Main. All that is being done is replacement of the water main and lining of the sewer. There is no streets for it involved in other than what's above the replacement of the water main. As budget stands, it would be covered by water fund, primarily water fund, a little bit out of sewer. It is able to be paid for out of the current budget. The engineering, in my report, it states budget would have to be changed. Because everything is in upcoming year, we'd like to get the engineering started in this year. So it'd just be a matter of having to move the budget back to start in this year. We want to hopefully move forward on this project because MDOT has scheduled resurfacing of M222 from the bridge right there at River Street out to the city limits. We would like to get this project done. We'll take approximately half the road, the north side of the road or the westbound lane for reconstruction of the water main there. We would like to have our part done before MDOT comes in and resurfaces it. That way it looks like a nice, complete road, not one that's been patched a year after they resurface. One other thing I'd like to add, the engineering contract does include from design all the way through construction. So this is all engineering included.
Okay, thank you, Doug. All right, can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve Abonmarche for professional engineering services for the Grand Street project.
All right, thank you. All right, it's been moved and supported. Is there any further questions from council to staff or any other discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. 11C3 is a request to approve a budget adjustment in the amount of $150,898.24 for the spring biosolids removal from the Allegan Resource Recovery Facility.
Yep. I believe I mentioned to council in our budget sessions earlier that I would be running over. At that point, we had not started hauling biosolids in the spring yet. It's just a matter of we're taking in more and more waste, which our digester can only handle so much. We just push it through. It does not thicken it the way it used to, so we can generate more biosolids. Overall effect, we are taking in and charging more than we're spending to get rid of it, so it's still a benefit to the city. But we end up spending more on biosolids removal.
Okay.
Will, it looks like you have a question or two.
No, it all makes sense. But again, so with the repairs, there are repairs needed.
So the digester, one side, an air header broke, it filled with sludge, we can no longer aerate it. That will help, but it is not a fix-all. We're just putting way too much waste to our digester. The digester should be aerated for 3 to 5 days on each side, and then air off for 3 days. We're cycling on about a 24 to 36 hour process instead of 3 to 5 days.
So, all right, so we get income from running the waste through, like,
We get income from what is coming in to be treated. The digester just basically takes the sludge that the treatment process generates and concentrates it. We used to be able to get 4.5%. We're lucky if we get much over 3% right now. So, and that's, even if the digester is fixed, we still would not approach 4% with what is coming in. We're just moving the sludge, the biosolids through the digester so fast, we can't concentrate it and thicken it.
so are we causing bigger problems down the road by running so much through?
No, because it is treated, the waste coming in is treated. This is the sludge that's generated through the treatment process of treating that waste. What it means is, what you see in front of you, we can't thicken it, so we end up hauling more liquid out to the farm fields for disposal. It costs the city more for disposal. As I've talked to the city manager, I mean, a more complete resolution to this would be to put some type of thickener in to further thicken it beyond the digester from the 3%, get it up to an 8%. That would reduce how much we haul, but there is an added expense for that for construction. So it's do we just apply it to farm field as is and spend the money each year, or do we look at what does it cost up front and spend less over future years? So.
Any other questions? All right. Can I get a motion to approve a budget adjustment?
I'll make a motion to approve a budget adjustment.
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Are there other questions of Doug? Questions amongst council, discussion? How do we, I have a question.
Yes.
So right now, we're still profitable.
Yes.
How do you determine at that point of where this isn't profitable?
It's a matter of just looking at the budget periodically of how much we're taking in and that we're charging enough and that we're making enough that it covers what biosolids.
Is it like a quarterly look?
Twice a month.
Okay, so very frequently.
Mondays other than council meetings, so I'll say off-council meeting Mondays, department heads have meetings with the city manager and finance director, and that's one thing we look at is revenues, expenses, how they're tracking throughout the year. That's when I tell them, I'm gonna spend more on biosolids, and they come back, well, how much are you bringing in? And I'm like, this is where we're at, so, it's tracked quite closely.
Okay, so right now it's about 70,000 in profit?
Yes, the numbers that were in the report are up to date plus projection of May and June's revenue based off of what we did last year. But industrial waste is already way over what was budgeted for revenue, so.
Okay.
And that's something maybe I just don't understand the process, but on our budget, if we are approving a budget adjustment in the expense side, did we know we were going to have this income before and it wouldn't come necessarily with the same, we wouldn't know that?
So the industrial waste and the septage, we don't know what we're gonna get in. We do to a certain extent. We have trends that say, May through September, we're gonna take 1 million gallons a month of septage in. We've kind of come to expect that. Industrial waste, we have some in waste that comes in that it's just, that's what we plan on. We have a company in Martin, every day they bring us at least one load of 10,000 gallons. It's periodically as the industrial waste hauler, he calls up and says, hey, I have this waste stream, can you take it? We'll look at it, get a sample of it, analyze it, see yeah, we can. That's not planned for in the budget. So that's where the additional revenue comes in of how we're generating more because they come to us with other waste streams.
And Councilmember Walker, council only approves revenue adjustments 4 times a year. That is your first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and then fourth quarter budget adjustment each year. So you've approved the revenue adjustments, not just for this line item, but for our building permits, our other licenses and fees and money we get from the state. If we're projecting the state's gonna give us 100,000 in state revenue and it comes in at 120,000, Tracy has to show that increased 20,000 in the budget adjustment. We do not do budget adjustments of revenue every month. That would just be crazy. And just a lot of extra work that's not necessary on staff. But we show that 4 times a year, the expenditures. So when someone comes to do a job for us, and Doug's like, oh, it's gonna cost us 120, but I only have 100 in the budget, we need council to approve that expense adjustment now, because as you all know that run businesses, you've got to pay the piper, or they ain't gonna do the work. And we can't have this sludge overflowing at the Water Resource Recovery Facility.
Yep.
Or then we have a whole other issue with the locals and with the state and the federal government on the regulatory agencies we work with.
Yeah, and when I make those budget adjustments and I say that most of the expense things are things that have come before you guys to this council meeting here, then you're gonna see this budget adjustment on the fourth quarter budget adjustment sheet. And I'll probably say that again. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is that when we do the budget and we have capital things in there or regular expenses like the biosolids, I have a conservative budget. Just like Joel said, when we get extra money from the state, I only budget for what I know we're guaranteed to get. Most of the time, we get a little bit more, and then I have to do those adjustments, but I'm doing a conservative budget so that we don't have any big surprises that, we're gonna spend this extra 150 and only bring in 70. So,
Yep.
that's just a couple things I would add.
Okay, yeah, thanks for clearing that up.
Okay. Any other questions, discussions? No? All right, there's a motion on the table to approve a budget adjustment in the amount of $150,898.24. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 11D1 is a request to adopt Resolution 2514 to select Prein&Newhof as its engineering consultant for Allegan's Padgham Field Airport.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll handle this. As part of the program with MDOT, we have to have an engineer on record for the entirety of our CIP. We typically do this every 5 years. We're required to send out a request for qualifications. Then the engineering firms that have airport experience submit their request for qualifications. This is unlike other times when we ask for engineers where they give us a budget price. This isn't based off any kind of dollar figure. This is just, do you know your job, yes or no? We had 2 firms submit. Only 1 firm submitted that followed the submittal requirements. Therefore, they were the only ones. It was Prein&Newhof. They've been our engineer of record probably for the past 15 or 20 years, quite a while. The last time we did this was 3 years ago. The reason we have to do this again is we need to reconstruct or resurface the runway out there because lack of a better phrase, the pacer rating on the runway, just like we do pacer ratings on our streets, we have to do a pacer rating on the runway. MDOT does that evaluation. It came back poor, and they were like, we have to elevate this project now, and for you to elevate it, you have to reselect an engineer. So that's what sped this one up by a couple years. So it's a resolution that has to be adopted by City Council. The Airport Advisory Board, as I mentioned during the review of their minutes, they're recommending Prein&Newhof. We're recommending Prein&Newhof as staff.
Okay. All right. All right, council.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 25.14 to select I'm going to mess up the name, Prein&Newhof as its engineering consultant.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion amongst council? Seeing none. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, we'll move down to 11E, which is administrative services. 11E1, we have a request to approve accounts payable and payroll. Mayor Pro Tem Hance, would you please take this one?
It is requested that the city council approve accounts payable in the amount of $545,721.40 and payroll in the amount of $118,038.15 for a total disbursement of $663,759.55. Motion to approve.
All right, can I get a support?
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. 11E2 is a request from Allegan Community Players to place a banner at the Griswold Auditorium.
I can handle this one. Yeah, so we have a request from the Allegan Community Players to place a banner that is 4 feet by 6 feet in the front lawn of the Griswold Auditorium. The banner would be in place on May 20th through June 23rd. So we are recommending to the staff that you approve this. This has been approved before. It helps generate excitement for the upcoming Theater in the Park event that's going to be held at Mahan Park.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion for the Allegan Community Players to place a banner at Griswold.
I'll support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. 11E3 is council discussion regarding community involvement initiative.
All right, I'll kick this off. There's been a request for council members to be present at 2 public events or 2 community events this summer. You will be sitting under a table, you'll be sitting at a table under a 10-by-10 tent provided by the city, and you'll be available to the community and or attendees at these events so the public may stop by and engage with you. The two events are Bridge Fest and Sidewalk Sales. Both events are in the downtown. Bridge Fest occurs on Saturday, June 14th, and Sidewalk Sales occurs on Saturday, July 26th. We have a sign-up sheet here, so we kindly ask that before you leave the meeting tonight, that you sign up for this sheet or sign up for these two events. We only need 2 council members per time slot, and there's different time slots there. Staff will not be available for these events to sit under the tent. We are busy doing other work during these events. So it's imperative that we have 2 council members sign up for the whole thing. One year, we didn't have a council member sign up for a tent, and it just made the city look a little shoddy, having a tent with no one there. Any questions?
Yeah, I do. For the, I think it's the sidewalk sales, Nicole Heslop, who is coordinating this, had said like they want family-friendly activities. Is that something you want council to think of? Is staff going to think of an activity for council to have?
Joel's whispering in my ear, yes, make the council do it. Yeah, so just to expound kind of on the sidewalk sales, this is an event, it's a 3-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that the downtown businesses put on. Nicole Heslop, whose husband is co-owner of Schaendorf Brewing Company, last year took some extra initiative. She's also a DDA board member. Took some extra initiative to drum up some more support and excitement for sidewalk sales and reach out to different area organizations to occupy some of the sidewalks in front of either vacant buildings or buildings that have offices who would not otherwise participate in sidewalk sales in this way. To have just kind of some face-to-face outreach. And then it's my understanding that she reached out to the city council to help fill some space. Off the top of my head, I know that we have in our bailiwick of materials for different events that we host, we've got like a jumbo Jenga set that we could very easily have out for the council to utilize. That's kind of the first thing. We've got like cornhole boards, but that occupies quite a bit of space. So the jumbo Jenga thing is something that we could have out on a table for engagement, a bowl of candy. But if there are other kind of activities that you guys might have in mind or have resources to supply, that would be
Okay.
great.
What about Bridge Fest? What is the expectation?
So Bridgefest, same kind of idea. We've been doing this since I've been doing Bridgefest since 2017, where we have this kind of row of community booths where, again, we give area organizations and nonprofits the opportunity to have just some face-to-face outreach, 10 by 10 tent, table and chairs, and each year varies. Sometimes there are years where you get a couple people that will drop by and just kind of ask, what's going on in the city? Can you tell me about the mountain bike trail? And then there are other years where you'll get somebody who's pretty revved up about a certain issue and they will come. They want answers and they want to kind of have that discussion with you. So each year is just kind of different. But it's just, again, that opportunity for some face-to-face outreach and get folks to engage. In both instances, for sure, Bridgefest, we've got flyers for all of our downtown events. We've got information on meeting times. We've got opportunity, we'll have application forms, that's the word I'm looking for boards, if we have vacancies on those boards. So that way, if someone's interested, they can take one of those there in that moment. So we'll arm you guys with some good literature and material to hand out to folks too.
Could we have signups for volunteers for like Positively Allegan
Certainly.
for events?
Yep. In the past, we've had like an email sign-up form, so folks can write down. Hopefully by that time, if it won't be launched yet, we will at least have the opportunity for folks to sign up for a text message service that we're working on. And so folks could put in their phone number and get pre-registered, and then we can just plug in their number so that they can start receiving text message services for reminders on events, but also when there's something like a water main break or a road closure or something of that nature, they'll get those alerts sent right to their phone.
Okay.
So yeah, plenty of stuff to arm you guys with. So
Okay, thank you. Parker, anyone have anything else? Okay. All right.
The sign-up sheet is right here. Please sign up before you leave this evening.
We got it. Loud and clear. All right, 11E, 4 is council discussion regarding council goals.
Okay, so we started this discussion at your last meeting. Mayor Pro requested that I place this on the agenda for this evening. In the annual draft budget that you saw, I took your collective goals that you wrote on the wall behind me back in January, and I put them into 3 categories for the draft budget: infrastructure planning, economic development, and community development. You can see that on page 87 of your packet or page 16 of the budget. There's some subheadings under those 3 goals. However, as we discussed at the last meeting, I think this council needs to have a larger, higher level discussion about your vision for the city and where you'd like to see our efforts go, throughout this upcoming, couple years. So I think that's why the discussion was asked to be back on the agenda.
Yeah, because we're getting close where we don't have our goals defined, and we should get those defined, so. I will open the floor for discussion so we can hammer these out. If anybody saw a common theme.
So I jotted down a few things. As I'm learning how council works, or trying to figure out how council works, I'm concerned that if we come up with very specific goals, we're gonna just box ourselves in. So I just came up with a few sentences, so I can just read them out here, and then if you want, I can just email them to everybody.
Yeah.
So 3 things would be, our 3 goals: continued fiscal responsibility, to continue city-provided services, and to aggressively pursue grants and other external funding sources so we can continue capital improvements as we can afford to do so.
Yeah, thank you, Carl.
Okay.
Yeah. Others? I think we all can agree on the last one, which I just pulled up last year's council goals and, explore various funding scenarios. This was specific to improve city streets, but kind of your last comment there, Councilmember Canales. Others down this way?
I know that many of us talked about the recycling or refuse. We also had talked a little bit about some kind of a ticket system so that we could take care of trash more often. I know that I used it this spring and it was packed. I saw quite a few people, so, I don't know if we had talked more about that, like, a ticket or, because wasn't there something about, we get a lot of people from potentially outside of the city, so this would, we'd have to prove who we are, kind of a thing?
Yeah, there's a concern that during our spring cleanup, quite a few non-city residents access the thing. I had a couple employees that live in the city that utilized it, and they mentioned that the people in front of them and behind them were not having their IDs checked. So, or maybe they just know you're a city resident, but maybe not at the same time. So, yeah, there's a concern there. I hear what Carl was saying about not boxing ourselves in, a little high level. But yeah, one of the things that was a handful of council members mentioned is the recycling idea, or, single hauler idea. And, how do we do a better job with, coordinating that stuff, so.
And I guess I just feel like I don't, until we approve the budget, and it just doesn't feel right to look at some specific goals. I just don't feel comfortable doing it right now. That's all.
Well, typically, the goals were picked as part of the budget process so that you could focus your budget on your goals that you've picked. That's why we had the goal setting.
And they're required to be printed in there for our budget award.
And so, as I mentioned, in the budget, on that page 16, I believe I said, of the budget, I did take what you wrote there and synthesize them into 3 main ones, is what I did, so we satisfy the budget requirements. I guess my push to council to have this larger, higher level discussion is I'm almost wondering if we want to bring in a facilitator and not do it as part of a round the table kind of a discussion, but, you know, a special meeting where we bring in a facilitator to really talk about where you'd like to see our focus as a collective council. What I'm experiencing over these past 5 months is a bunch of individual opinions or directives to city staff. And as I've mentioned to council before, not one of you is my boss. All of you, or a majority of you, are my boss. So there has to be a collective direction to give the staff so we can work on projects and move stuff forward.
But I think that's a great idea, because we do have 4 of us that are brand new at this. And so we're kind of wide-eyed going, I don't know what we're supposed to do. And, you know, so.
Or maybe even just have a meeting where we sit around a table and share a pizza and just talk.
Yeah, I'm more in line with that. Similar to what we did before, I think we could get something accomplished.
Yeah, now that we have some more knowledge to back up what we're thinking about.
Yeah. And we need to do this before the 27th.
No.
No.
You do not. You do not. The budget is established. The goals are listed in the budget, as I said, on page 16. Tonight, you'll be having a public hearing on it. If council is uncomfortable with those 3 goals on page 16, then we can have that conversation. But I believe those 3 goals and the subset underneath each of those covers the supermajority of what your focus really is. And we'll go over the budget public hearing, you know, I'll go over more of the budget when we get to the public hearing in a few minutes.
And we can amend those after the budget's
Easily,
adopted,
yeah.
so I just don't want to hold up the budget being adopted.
No,
and-
that's why you don't have to do it. And you can't hold up the budget. Your charter requires you to approve it May 27th.
Is council comfortable with that? With the 3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this agenda item then, before we move to the public hearing? No? Okay. All right. We will move down then to, am I going back to,
You're at 11E5. It's just,
7E5, public hearing on the FY 2026 City of Allegan budget. It is 7:02, so I can move forward with opening up for the public hearing. And I will do that, well, at 7:02.
all right, staff's going to give a little precursor before you invite members of the public to the podium. The first thing we want to show you is what's on the screen. This has been part of the City of Allegan budget, I believe, starting in 2018, which was my first real budget that I helped put together here at the City of Allegan. This is something that's been in your finance director's back pocket, I think, since 2010. But up until 2018, the City of Allegan budget was just a line item budget comprised of a bunch of individual spreadsheets. And then in 2018, we decided to put together a budget that conformed with GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, Best Management Practice and Standards. Since then, we've been awarded the budget award through that organization. I'm also bringing this up because as part of our most recent community meetings we had regarding funding and specifically our police department staffing, more than once, more than twice, dozens of times, a sentiment out there was, what are you doing with our tax dollars? We had a lady speak during the public comment period who was a retired school teacher. She lives in the city limits. She pays $5,000 a year in taxes, and she wants to know where those taxes go. So we just want to remind city council, remind city staff that of every property tax dollar we receive, the city keeps 36% for city work. 19% is distributed to Allegan Public Schools, 15% is distributed to Allegan County, 13% is distributed to the state of Michigan as part of the state education tax, 10% is distributed to the Allegan Area Education Service Association, and 3% is distributed to the Allegan District Library. As a taxpayer in the city limits, I fully understand what a tax bill is. I understand personally through my household that we pay all of our taxes to the city of Allegan when it comes to property taxes. But then the city takes that and we distribute it as a city to all these other taxing jurisdictions. Our property taxes account for only 46% of our general fund. So that's not our enterprises fund. That's just our general fund. Only 40%, 6%. The rest is covered through state revenue sharing, licenses, fees, et cetera. And then our property taxes only account for 13.94% of all of our funds. So while property taxes are paramount and foundational to how we think as Americans and those damn property taxes, only 13.94% of that property tax that you pay, that I pay, goes to the city of Allegan. I just wanted to take a second here and just recreate this and share this again so it's just fully understood by council and by staff and the public. Tonight's is a public hearing. We will be approving the budget on May 27th. So you are not taking any action tonight, City Council. Any comments made by the public during the public hearing, we will take into consideration and staff will respond to each comment in writing to council as part of the May 27th meeting. I want to remind council that a budget is a planning document. It is not a set it and forget it and rigid. So you will see things in this budget specifically that say, hey, we are gonna redo Trowbridge Street, Walnut Street, and Chestnut Street. Because as we were putting this budget together and operating under City Council's stated goals of focus on the infrastructure, that was a high priority set of streets, and we view that as finishing the downtown project. However, as we started looking at numbers, the ongoing payment on that bond, the financing payment on that bond is not sustainable. So we are gonna do a budget adjustment as part of the first quarter budget adjustment and pull that project out more than likely. The other things that are in the budget that we're gonna have to talk about is probably the purchase of a UTV and snowplow for downtown so we remove snow easier. We're just gonna have to make some decisions as we move forward. So just because you see it listed in the budget does not mean it's automatic. The big purchases, City Council still will have to approve. The property tax millage rate will not exceed 16.368. We can't increase the property taxes more than this. The utility rate increases, we are including a sewer rate increase of 1.5% and a water rate increase of 8%. The average resident will see a monthly increase of $3.50 a month to their combined utility bill. And then the total revenue is projected to be $20,911,852, and the total expenditures will be $20,911,852. The city of Allegan has to present and approve a balanced budget. Some of this funding, the revenue, we will borrow from the general fund balance to make our general fund whole, but some of it will be adding to our general fund balances. We're bringing in more revenue than what we're spending in the other funds as well, as you see in the full budget document. The full budget has been published to our website for the public's consumption. And with that, does council have any questions about the budget document that was in your packet before we open the floor for comment?
I don't see any one. All right. All right, at 7:09, I will open the floor for public comment. Please approach the podium and state your name and address. All right. I am not seeing anyone here with a public comment on the FY '26 City of Allegan budget. So I will close the public hearing. Right,
That's all you have to do.
all right, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move down to agenda item number 12. 12A is the appointment of Roger Byrd to the Downtown Development Authority with a term set to expire on December 31st, 2028. And this became open with, Peter was previously, I don't know, Parker, if you were gonna say, the position became open with Peter being appointed to council. So we had an opening, and Roger Byrd had previously stated he had interest in that. So can I get a motion to approve the appointment?
Make a motion to approve the appointment.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
All right, motion passes. Okay. Moving down to agenda item number 13 is our second public comment period of the night. If anyone has a public comment, please approach the podium and state your name and address. And once again, I do not see anybody moving. All right. So I will move on to agenda item number 14, which is communications from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. There are two things I want to bring to your attention. At the May 27th meeting, you will be holding two public hearings. They are for grants that we will be applying for road projects. The first grant that we're going to be applying for is through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for water-related infrastructure. We're going to cast our net and see if we can't catch some fish for improvements to the Rossman Park neighborhood. We've done some value engineering to the original plans, removed what we could remove and still make that project fundable if we can get this grant. So we are going to be going for a grant there. If we are not successful in getting that grant, we will be back to the drawing board and talking to council about ways to fund that. At the end of the day, every road in that neighborhood is a 1 on your PACER rating. And if you recall the PACER rating scale, 10 is awesome, 1 is horrible. So we still have to continue to work to figure out ways. The second grant we'll be applying for is through MDOT. It is a TEDF Category B grant. TEDF stands for Transportation Economic Development Fund. B stands for funding to local units less than a certain population. I think it's 10,000, but it's small rural communities. I believe that is a $250,000 grant. We will be applying for funding for that to resurface Walnut Street between Hubbard and Trowbridge. And as part of that, we have water funds available that will be able to replace that water main as well. So it won't be a full reconstruction. We won't be able to improve the sidewalks in either of these projects. Those are part of the value engineering to make the funding work as we removed the pedestrian amenities to make them walkable neighborhoods, so they won't be walkable neighborhoods per se. But we'll be able to, hopefully get these grants and improve the streets, which are badly needed in these two neighborhoods. So those are two separate public hearings that you will be having at your next meeting.
And I'm sorry, how much was the Rossman Park? What was
The Rossman Park, we're asking for 2.5 million, and they have 20 million to give statewide. And I'm going to just give a little bit of commentary. I have heard from several members of the community and some council members. Well, Joel, you're really good at finding funds, so go find funds. I want to be very clear. There is first a team of staff that works to acquire this funding. We have been very successful in our 7 to 8 years of me running this city and getting funding. It's not easy work. It's not just walking up to an ATM machine and putting in your card and hitting 4 digits and money coming out. And just because we've been successful in the past does not mean we'll be successful in the future.
And
So-
we also can't plan on that as income until the time comes, and the timing all has to line up. I mean, just like us bringing these to you now, that doesn't mean we're gonna do Rossman Park and Walnut. We're gonna see if we get the grant, you know, so those kind of things need to be understood as well.
Yeah. But we're always looking for funding. We're always reaching out there, applying for funding. Some of the applications require council approval, some of them do not. Case in point, USDA funding that we got for the Hubbard Street parking lot behind us here right now, that was $99,000. That was a simple application, and we received that one, so that shaved $99,000 off that project. So I just wanted to let you guys, make you guys aware of what's happening on the 27th when you see these other projects, and you'll constantly see these things come up as we are always working to find ways to reduce expenses for the residents of the city of Allegan. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, roundtable discussion. Councilmember Canales, would you like to go first?
Guess the only thing I'd have to say is I'd like to thank Joel and staff for tracking down grants and putting in all that hard work and putting in all that time and doing the best you can. And I understand that if we get them, that's great, and if we don't, that's just how it goes. But I appreciate all the work you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hooker?
I just want to remind everybody that we will, Councilmember Walker and I will be at the library this Wednesday from 6 PM to 8 PM. If anyone wants to come and chat with us or just say hi.
All right. Councilmember Zeter?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Westover?
I'm all set. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker?
We still have one spot open for Wednesday night, if anyone wants to join us. Be at the library at 6.
All right. And Mayor Pro Tem Hant?
Nothing today.
Okay. I just wanted to say, Councilmember Hooker and I attended the Civil War gravestone dedication. I just wanted to say, you know, the Friends of Oakwood Cemetery, they co-hosted it. I just think it's great. We have this grassroots community group, and that's what I want to see more of. We have lots of parks, and I know people don't think of the cemetery as a park, but it is, and it's a dollar amount that we have to budget for. And I really am thankful for this group of, it's city residents, and it's greater Allegan community members that are a part of it. And I'm gonna put a plug in for their, the what? Their upcoming June, and tickets are on sale here for.
Living History Tour.
Yes, I was like, what are you yelling at me?
Yes, and that is on May 30th and 31st.
Oh, it's earlier this year with.
It is.
Memorial Day, where it's falling. Because they do, with those funds, they do some work that's needed in the cemetery that then helps the city not to have to have all of that put back on them. So that was really a nice thing. And Joel, I just wanted to say thank you for talking about the grants and that, and I know that staff, it takes a lot of time of staff and yours to come up with these grants, to find the grants, then let alone have to, write the grants, fill out the applications, everything that you do. Thank you for talking about that, and I appreciate, like Councilmember Canales said, appreciate everything you guys do. If there is nothing else tonight, then I will adjourn at 7:18.